Follow the Dead. A very interesting story that happened in the city of Can Tho, Vietnam, was told by my boyfriend. This has probably been going on for almost 4 to 5 years now. I still remember that year was my first year studying at Can Tho University. The first time I entered that school, I was overwhelmed by the large area the school gave me. It was like a miniature city. I study in the information technology department, but it takes about 15 minutes to walk from the dormitory to that area. There's nothing to say about the school's dormitory. Surely anyone who has studied there knows that it's very beautiful, new, and has Wi-Fi. The only downside is that you can't cook in the room. I lived with 3 guys from another department. Our room was right next to the girls' rooms, but because they were all built close to the edge of the wall separating the school and the outside, at night we couldn't see from the door. From the window, it looked a bit dark, because the other side of the wall was full of trees and there were no street lights. Even though inside the school, a few dozen meters away, there were separate street lights, it was still unusually dark. One evening, all 4 boys were sitting in the room. One was on the phone, the other was studying, reading books, when in a moment of reflection I stood by the window, a girl from high above the opposite floor. I immediately jumped down and lay flat on the ground. I didn't look up, so I didn't know which floor that girl was on. Blood flowed out into a huge puddle. I panicked and called my friends to run to the window and look down. Everyone was screaming. Fire! Quickly ran downstairs to see the situation and then informed an adult. At that moment, my heart sank because it was the first time I witnessed that horrifying scene. The face was deformed and covered in blood. The arms and legs were twisting like broken puppets. In some places I could clearly see the bones being protruded. Outside, eyes wide open, looking in a certain direction. At that time, it was almost 10 o'clock at night. Most of the other roommates had gone to bed, so only a few people knew and came out to see. A few of them fainted and vomited as soon as they saw the blood. The teachers present there quickly waved their hands and told us all to go back to bed and let the adults handle it, so we all had to go back to our rooms to sleep. To be honest, I couldn't sleep that night because that horrible image kept appearing in my head. It wasn't until the next morning that I was able to catch up on sleep. Fortunately, there was no school that day, so I was able to sleep until noon. Trang's funeral was held right after that. In the room, only Hung was familiar with Trang's daughter, so he was the only one who attended, listening to Hung talk about the furniture and even the phone number that they often contacted. Even when they lost each other, the hero personally hid them and put them in the coffin with Trang's child's body. A few days later, everything calmed down, and the girls on the building opposite my floor kept talking about how the kids often saw ghosts every time they returned home at night, even though it was 7 or 8 o'clock at night. She still insisted that she saw a ghost. Some said they saw little girl Trang standing in the hallway on the 5th floor. Some just walked into the room and saw little girl Trang jumping down from the window, and there's still others who normally don't see anything, but when they go to sleep it's like that. Being pressed by little girl Trang made me feel suffocated. Every time I lay down, I was pressed down, and many of them were so scared that they asked to move to another room, or even rent a room outside. As for me and my roommates, we still take it easy because none of us are afraid of ghosts, except me. Come one day, one of the group didn't believe there was a ghost, so one of them persuaded them all to play Corco to try calling Trang to ask about her. At exactly 10 p.m., we all turned off the lights, lit the candles, and gathered to place our hands on the prepared cue table to conduct the soul calling. I'll let you skip this part because everyone probably knows how to summon this sacred soul, so I won't repeat it. The four of us sat and read the spell over and over again, about half an hour later, but still didn't see anything, so everyone was disappointed and thought it wasn't real. Everyone withdrew their hands and went to bed to sleep, only I was left sitting there with the game board still unfinished. According to protocol, I had to turn it off so the game could end. I thought bitterly for a moment, then from outside the door I heard someone's footsteps getting louder step by step. Filter pile, filter pile. The crisp sound became clearer and clearer in my head, followed immediately by a girl's cry. I turned to look at my friends. Sigh. These guys fall asleep so fast. Even though I'm usually afraid of ghosts, those scary sounds kept making me curious and uncomfortable, so I had to slowly open the door to see if there was anyone there. Or maybe someone is making fun of me. I blew out the candles and went to open the door. Creak. I opened the door in suspense, opened my eyes slowly and looked out. There was no one out there. The cold wind suddenly blew in my face, making me shiver, but someone pushed me hard. I was pushed back a bit and fell. I quickly regained my balance. I just had time to close the door and climb into bed to sleep. As soon as I took the blanket from under my feet and pulled it up, I saw a shadow standing across from my bed and looking at me coldly. I rubbed my eyes and thought to myself, it's strange, I'm on the top bunk bed, but why is there someone at the foot of the bed looking at me like that? I waved my glasses around to see clearly, but when I put them on I couldn't see anything. When I took my glasses off, I saw that shadow standing there watching. I was only a few degrees closer, but the shadow in front of me at that moment was not small, so it was impossible to be dizzy. I quickly shook my friend in the bottom bunk and asked, but he said he didn't see anything and then went back to sleep. I had to lie there as if I was sleeping, but in reality I couldn't sleep with the sounds outside the door. That sound now keeps ringing like an alarm bell. The space was chillingly quiet. The window had not yet been closed. The curtain was pulled back to cover the door, so every time the wind blew in, the curtains kept fluttering like someone was lamenting at night. Until I was about to close my eyes to sleep because I was tired, when on the other side of the bed, Hung suddenly started jerking, unable to speak, and foaming at the mouth. I frantically turned on the light, but the electricity in the room was off. I called the other two kids to wake up and shook Hung's body, but he didn't wake up. His eyes kept looking up at the ceiling with his mouth foaming and trying to say yes or no. Trying, it's back. Trying, it. The phone next to him beeped continuously. They were so scared that they immediately took him to the hospital. That's when I learned that it had a stroke due to strong external impact on the brain, and it died that night. After a few days, I returned to my room to find his belongings to send to his family. Then I accidentally saw his phone. I opened it curiously, then I turned pale when I saw the message. The sender of the message was Trang. From here I learned that these two knew each other, but I don't know why Trang died and then brought in Han. The message just said, "Can we meet?" I thought to myself maybe they met that night, but if the girl died, how would they meet? Then why is Trang's child's number still textable while her belongings have been buried with her in the grave? And this is the end of the story. Everyone who listens to the story finds it interesting. Please give me 1 like and 1 subscriber. I hope everyone has fun listening to the story. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.